people that waited in line just to share this experience of Venom, Candyman, Night of the Living Dead, The Rock, Final Destination. But I want you to know you are now entering the
Cinema
Chop Shop with a top and the pop. Boom, boom, pop.
The Cinema Chop Shop.
What's going on, everybody? It's Davey from the 80s, and you are now entering the Cinema Chop Shop, so park your ass right there. While you're there, don't forget to hit the like, the share, and the subscribe button. And today I'm here for a review, and that review is MaXXXine. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with MaXXXine, this is a trilogy directed by T.I. West. It started off with X, and then it spiraled into Pearl, and now it's into MaXXXine. Now, I gotta be honest with you. I am not a fan of Pearl. I thought X was okay. So really, the only thing that made me go see this movie is because the trailers actually look good. Now, I'm also got to be honest with you guys, and I'm not a fan of Mia Goth. I'm really not. Like, I felt like she just has this whiny, sniveling voice, and her face just makes me irritated just looking at her. But for you guys, I went to go see this movie. I put my personal bias to the side, and I think you guys will be pleasantly surprised with this review. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Now, this movie is coming off of the back of X. Now, this is the direct sequel to X, not Pearl, because Pearl is considered a prequel. This is a direct sequel to X, and we find out what happens to Maxine Minx after she leaves the freaking barn house and continues her life down the road to stardom, right? Now, Maxine finds herself casting for a horror movie, and she has been casted for the damn movie. But all of a sudden, it's just she finds herself in the middle of the 80s. And what I mean by that is, you know, you had Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, floating around Los Angeles during this time. So it was really cool to see it kind of set within that time frame. And I'm going to go into a little bit more details about it with my pros for this movie. But long story short, Maxine finds herself in a situation where she herself has to defend herself yet again and try to find a way to reach that stardom that she always felt like she deserved, right? Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Me personally, I think this is the best movie of the trilogy. And people are going to say, what are you talking about? Have you not seen Pearl? Oh, I'm not a fan of Pearl. Like I said at the beginning of the movie, at the beginning of this review, I'm just not a fan of Pearl. I'm sorry. It just didn't do anything for me. I thought it was beautifully filmed. I thought the director did an amazing job, but I just didn't care for Mia Goth. I didn't care for the storyline, and everything just felt horrible to me in that movie. But I mean, that's my opinion, and you know, it is what it is. But I think that this movie does it a little bit well. This is kind of like a whodunit aspect, and that was a really cool kind of tidbit to add to this movie, because I mean, you went straight slasher, you know, and with the first one you went kind of like artsy, tell a story with Pearl, and it was really cool to kind of flip the script and kind of do a whodunit. Now, this movie also, I believe, has an upgraded cast. We have a couple of musicians, and then you also have Giancarlo Esposito, who everybody knows from like Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, and then we also have Kevin Bacon, right? Which these are two huge names added to this movie, and honestly, they do a damn fantastic job, especially Kevin Bacon's character. But anyway, Giancarlo's character has a fucking terrible wig, and I just couldn't take him seriously. But I mean, it is what it is. He plays like Giancarlo character, if I gotta say. He had a little bit more pep in his step. He wasn't just a little monotone, serious face, like couple of words, dude. He did a little bit better in this movie, but I gotta say, I'm gonna be honest with you, I really like this movie. It had the vibe of the 80s. It had, like, at times it had like this grainy look to it. It made you feel like you were looking at a VHS. You had them visit really famous sets such as the Universal backlot. They use that as a backdrop of this movie a lot. You see the freaking Back to the Future courthouse that got hit by lightning. You see them going down the street. I think Spider-Man was filmed on a couple of those streets. You have them just going through the old Western town. They go all over the place. And then not only to mention that, but you got the Bates Motel, you got the Psycho House. And, you know, it was really cool for them to actually go inside the facades for a little bit. So, I was always naturally curious. I wanted to see what was behind those doors. So it was really cool that I got to see that in the movie. Also, I mean, if you guys are Terminator fans, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at what pops up in this movie. I'm not going to give it away, but I also thought that was really cool. I feel like they really did a good job of kind of grasping the idea of the 80s. It felt like it was the 80s. This kind of felt like one of those 80s B movies, but it was really good. I saw complaints about the pacing of this movie, but I didn't personally feel that the pacing was off. I felt like it was just right. It moved how it was supposed to. Everything needed to be kind of sewn up tightly before moving on to the next scene. I didn't feel like there was too much filler. Everything flowed so well, in my opinion. I thought the damn movie was fantastic. Mia Goth, who always annoys the shit at me, did a fantastic job in this movie. Like, I liked MaXXXine Minx's character. I was rooting for her, and I wasn't annoyed as I normally am with just her face. I felt like she did a really good job. Shout out to Mia Goth. She did a really good job as MaXXXine Minx and really giving that character a lot more life than we saw in X. I mean, X really, she didn't really get a chance to shine like that. You know, you had all these other characters kind of taking the spotlight, but this movie specifically follows MaXXXine's character, and we see how the effects of X has phased her life and how she's coping with it and how she's kind of using that as fuel in order to push her career forward because she feels like she is a star. You know what I'm saying? But aside from that, like, I don't have too many gripes with this movie. I will say that the whodunit aspect is a little bit predictable. I kind of called it from the beginning of the movie during a specific tidbit. I was like, okay, I kind of see where we're going here. I think Giancarlo's wig was terrible. But other than that, I mean, the movie was fantastic. It even has a freaking retro kind of 80s soundtrack type deal, and that came off really, really well. And it even had kind of like just this, it just had this VHS feel to it. I really liked the whole grainy vintage look, in my opinion. But this was a really good movie. I had a lot of fun with it, and I think this is a really good year for horror. We have a lot of great movies coming out. And again, I was skeptical about this movie, but I felt like this movie kind of exceeded my expectations with how well it was. I thought it was a fun movie. I thought the third act was actually phenomenal. I think it was a fun third act. I was really worried about that too because I felt like it was going to just drag. I also want to give a shout out to Kevin Bacon's character. He's like I don't want to tell you what he is, but I think he does a fantastic job as the character that he is in the movie. You know. Oh, also got to talk about the practical effects. There is a lot of practical effects in this movie. There's a blood, guts, and ass, and I mean, I think that it looked really good. You know what I'm saying? There's a couple of scenes, and there's even a scene where they talk about how these some of the prosthetics and things are made, and it was really cool to kind of see one get sculpted in real life, or you just kind of see the before and after type deal. And you don't get to see it sculpted, but you kind of see the beginning stages and then the end stages of the process. So I thought it was really cool. And again, they didn't skip out on this movie. It kind of feels like a Gallo movie. If you guys are like into like that Italian horror genre, the Gallo films, this definitely feels like one of those. It feels like an Americanized version of that. So shout out to T.I. West for doing that shit. I heard that if this movie does good, they kind of want to go to try to do a fourth. I think they should just kind of leave it as it is because I feel like too much sometimes can kind of just wear and tear what it is that you're trying to do. You get what I'm saying? Just too much is sometimes a little bit too bad, if that makes sense. But I would definitely go recommend this movie. I would say if you're a big horror fan, if you've watched the other two movies and you enjoyed the other two movies, definitely go check this out and support them. Support T.I. West, support A24, support Mia Goth. And you know, you're not going to really hear that from me too often. So that's my review. Let me know if you agree or disagree, whatever the case may be. Drop
play a game, subscribe now. The choice is yours. You're now exiting the cinema chop shop.